Welcome back to Herd Entertainment. This one's a little rant from Yak. I just got to get it off my chest. This might not be the most well thought out or well planned rant I've ever had, but it's just straight from the heart, innit? Let's get into it, man. I just want to start off though by saying rest in peace. May your soul rest in that, George. Look, you know what's been going on. I know what's been going on. We've known for years now. This isn't an isolated incident. I'm getting kind of tired of my own people's reaction to it, so I need to get something off my chest. I'm gonna get it off my chest, like it or don't like it. I'm dying on this hill, so let's get into it. Yeah, there's two kinds of people, yeah, conscious and unconscious. It's usually determined by environment and trauma, pain and suffering, but there's also plenty of people who haven't experienced that and remain conscious. There's two kinds of people: those that complain about protest and those that join them. There's two kinds of people: those that believe merely because they could ignore it, that they will. Too lazy to leave an imprint on the world, too self-absorbed to help anybody else, always armed with a justification as to why it doesn't actually matter that much, never realising the psychosis of fear that they're under. Middle class, liberal but never radical, usually, but a poison that has seeped and infected the working masses too. Not that they were particularly anti-racist before, innit, but you know what I mean, innit. Then there's those that understand each person's role in history, that if you don't sit up and stand up, you're sitting idle. That if no one does it, nothing happens. People that understand simply not being overtly racist isn't enough. It doesn't do nothing. That doesn't change anything for anybody. That the only reason anyone is in their history books is because they just simply did it. They just got up and done it. And now the world's better for it. The irony of people who don't think anything is worth fighting for because everything is alright. Spitting on the dead that gave their lives for things to just be alright. To give up just because you could sit down, be comfy and die peacefully is the most pathetic position a human can take on anything. Let alone something as serious as this. And that's why when people say it, when they justify being bone idle because they don't have to fight, you see the weak little snake inside. It flashes past in a millisecond, but you see it in them. As their consciousness folds on itself to protect itself from the truth, it's so ugly. It's unhuman. And frankly, nobody on this planet needs anyone like that, innit? I'm sorry, not sorry. They might tell themselves different, but people who are like this don't raise others up. They don't provide for others, they just leech. The middle class, and now working class, leech. They profit from privilege, but don't feel the need to fight for it or to fight for others to have access to it. They praise their nation's freedom, but wouldn't for a second try and protect it. Cowards. There's two types of people: humans and cowards. And don't just look at white people when I say this either. This right here is a class thing. The protest is a race thing, but participation is a class thing. If you're not white and all you've done is tweet something against the system, yeah, you're just as useless and pointless as a middle class white boy who does the same, innit? That's all I want to say on that, because it ain't really my place. But I'm sick of bedroom bullies, yeah, and not the shabba ranks kind. I mean the boys who sit there, white, black, brown, Hispanic, Asian, African or European, who sit there calling out white girls for participating in the protest. Where are you, bruv? Where are you? You just sat at home in your room watching other people fight. Bruv, that could never be me. Never. It should never be you. It's so pathetic. If you're not on the side of the people, you're on their side. There is no middle ground. If you're not anti-racist, I'll say that again, if you're not anti-racist, you uphold racist society, and it has to be overt. You can't just tell yourself you are so that you don't have to do anything. Just like if you're not anti-fascist, you're fascist, innit? There's no time for all this middle-class white circular nuance right now. George Floyd died. Belly Mujinga died. Philando Castile died. Stephen Lawrence died. Jimmy Mubenga died. Terence Crutcher died. Jeremy McDowell died. Tamir Rice died. Bruv, and that's just the first 8 that come to mind, bruv. That's the first 8 that I remember, bruv. That I remember, a young man, and I remember all of these fucking fuckeries, man. This moment could not be more serious, bruv. It could not have more potential to be positive or detrimental to our entire lives. Bruv, it don't matter what class or race you're from, bruv. Whatever happens with this is gonna write the next 100 years. You can count on that. You can count on it. Whatever side the coin falls in it, it's gonna stay like that for a long while. It's a serious moment. We gotta make sure that we're on the right side of this thing, innit? Because if you're not, bruv, you can fuck off to the wayside, innit? There's no space for you anymore. There's no space for all this namby-pamby, beat round the bush shit. None of it. None of that. People are dying. People, they're losing their lives. Their family and friends never get to hear or see them again for being black and living in the US or UK. And look, I don't want you to just think I'm some geek, innit, getting angry at other geeks for not being a sheep geek and pretending to care about black people. I mean, if you know me, you know, innit, but not many people do, so it's hard to listen to me with my pasty old ass, crusty ass, pink face, pink cheeks, and take it seriously. I get that, but peep the wisdom in it, not the identity. I've been pushed, shoved, punched, strangled by police. I've had my head thrown in the pave. I've had knees in the back of the neck. I've been stripped on the high street whilst being pinned up against the wall as a child because somebody reported Jews with weapons. I've had my bags checked whenever I went to the 24-hour shop after midnight because there's been reports of a robbery of fucking fruit and nuts and Rizzler and milkshake apparently. And I can't lie, it's traumatic. At the very least, these things fill you with hate and make you feel isolated, vulnerable. Everybody just rolls their eyes because they haven't felt it before. They're so desensitized to policemen being violent that they think it's actually supposed to be part of the job now. When I had my throat grabbed by a police officer, yeah, I told him to F off, and for that I had to spend the night in a cell. Like, I wasn't even 18, yeah, and the only reason they done it was because I was quite tall, and they thought it would calm everyone else down if they nicked me, innit? I got fined 90 quid and couldn't pay because I was a kid, and it turned into a proper debt, and my credit was fucked before I was even old enough to have credit. Like, that's just scratching the surface as well. It's not just in the US, and again, like, look at me, innit? If this is happening to me, bruv, you know what's happening to other people, innit? The only difference is guns with the US and UK, not attitude, not at all. This shit made me who I am, innit? A hateful, impatient, radical domestic terrorist. That's what most people would call me, and I think it would do that to you as well, innit? Now imagine the only thing that ever brought these traumatic events onto you was your skin colour, purely the nationality of your mother and father, simply the part of the world that your family is from. Imagine if that was all the police needed to change you forever and fill you with a hate and emotion and lack thereof, with trauma. Just deep it for a second if you've never felt what I'm explaining right now. I haven't felt it. What I felt was nothing compared. It was traumatic, but it wasn't because of the colour of my skin, innit? They didn't take my life. They didn't take my life just because they were scared of people from my mum's birthplace. It's insanity. It's enough to drive you insane thinking about it. As a white boy, the police are enough to drive you insane. As a white boy. Imagine what it's like, bruv. And every one of you just trying to nice it off, smooth it off, wait for it all to blow over. You're pathetic. You're a joke, a waste, whatever, innit? And nobody can count on you in the war. Yet you roll round banging rap, wearing street brands, loving not only my culture, the street culture, but specifically black culture itself. You can't be a bystander when it's all singing and dancing and happy days, but then when it gets all serious, get all like, oh man, it's just like, not really my vibe, man. Like, I'm pretty lucky. I've got nothing to protest, really, dude. Like, people like you make me so angry, man. You're literally the wall between not only class justice, but racial justice, historical justice, human justice, the state, establishment, whatever you want to call it, isn't the obstacle, bro. They're just part of the journey. They're beatable in so many ways. What isn't surmountable is the liberal class and the conservatives of our nations speaking in platitudes and half-truths designed to calm people down, not to get to any sort of truth or to achieve any mission, but to just shut people up, to shut me and you up. Malcolm X, rest in peace, said, and I quote, "There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberal. That white person that you see calling themselves a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And the fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling and take him for a friend." End quote. If you don't get what he's saying, yeah, it's probably because he's talking about you, yeah? A friend of black culture, but not to black people. A physical embodiment of English and American exceptionalism and Western imperialism. A physical embodiment of that cancer. Take but never give, use but never respect, talk but never understand, cry but never change. It's so ugly. Being a pussy has never been so cool in this country. It's all Facebook posts and Instagram stories, but none of you can ever even be asked to be counted, bruv. You don't even have to do nothing. All you got to do is just be counted. Be part of the mass. That's all you got to fucking do. You'll giggle at all the protests like you're all above it and that. But really, you're not a high enough being, mate. You're an animal. The world just happens to you. Humans change the world and mould it in their image, yeah? But animals get educated to a point of functionality, whatever the correct term is, at work or in business, and become convinced they're enlightened or of intelligence because they watch a couple YouTube videos and that. When did doing become spectating? Apparently tuning in is doing your bit now. A tweet or a repost. That's as far as you fought for anything in your life. Really, think about it. What have you fought for in your life apart from fighting your parents over fucking pocket money? What are you gonna tell your grandkids? Really? What are you gonna tell them? That your parents, grandparents and so on fought and died for their own and other people's rights, but you just sat there and laughed at it from your bedroom? Do you know what? I think a lot of people have lost the ability to see when history is unfolding in front of them, yeah? This is a moment, this is a spark for revolution. And to anyone saying don't use race as your way into revolution, hijacking the movement, please go read some books. Please, I beg you, just go read some books, innit? I'd ask you why Black Lives Matter isn't enough to light the match. Why does it have to be about something more than race and class and that? Like, what is more serious than that? What's more serious than someone getting killed because of how they look? Again, because it don't happen to you, you just can't put that shoe on the foot, bruv. It's really not that hard. Just think of something about you that's a little bit unique, and imagine if you got killed for that. But then again, this is another way people of all races reveal themselves. They just want people to do a march thing, and then the police come out and go, oh, we're going to change, and then it's all going to change. But that's it. Where's your historical context? Where is the proof that asking nicely has ever achieved anything? But because before you start standing in the way of change, you need to start coming correct, because all I see is ignorant people saying ignorant things about stuff they don't understand right now, about peaceful protest. I can't believe how shook everyone is to defend their neighbours. It's mad. I can't believe how shook everyone is to be in the history books. I think that's crazy. It weren't long ago. That was the greatest honour a man could receive. A place in history. A name in songs. Nobody should want to be the granddad or grandma that has to lie about their participation in these things. But apparently that's what everyone wants now. To wear the aesthetic, but to avoid taking part. The Insta generation. We're on the cusp of changing the world forever and forcing the establishment's hand. But everyone just wants to drink a pint and wait for it all to blow over. Even if you have never seen a black person in real life, you should be out there. You should be at least working towards being out there. You should be doing it so it could never happen to you, at the least. I mean, it's a pretty shitty reason, but still, it's a reason to defend other humans from evil. And that's another irony, is everyone hates the establishment, but only when their side is doing the hating. Everyone sits and debates how F the world is, but unless it was their mum dying on the streets, they'd never step foot on the streets. How can you all debate how much life isn't fair for some people, and then you just pop off the bed and wake up like, not my problem. All problems are your problem. Life, humanity, the world is all cyclical. Everything is a cycle. Everything that goes around comes back around. Your idleness increases the chances your children will face what you couldn't fight. Sorry, what you chose not to fight. Look, I can already feel that, you don't need to be that deep about it. But like, one, what's deeper than losing your life? And two, it really ain't that deep anyway, what I'm saying. It's quite obvious what kind of person you are. You don't have to be a socialist who grew up reading black literature in a multicultural area like me to get it, or to fight, or to even just turn up and walk on a protest. You don't have to be like me to do that. All you have to do is understand what's right. All you have to do is understand is that your excuses are excuses, yeah? It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be ignorant. It's not okay to act on those things out of spite of being ignorant and scared. You're not a caged tiger. Your forefathers fought on the streets for us to grow up in a nice place. And what kind of place do you want your family and friends, children to grow up in? Like, come on, you got to answer these questions. You got to ask yourself these questions and answer them. Otherwise, you're not doing enough. Because I'm sorry to say it, yeah, but some things are above us as individuals. But Maggie Thatcher and Reagan did enough to shoot that idea into space that it's even a fight convincing people they should feel they have to be a part of history. Otherwise, be consigned to the bit about those that let the abuses of their own neighbours happen because they had a Sky TV, a car, and a job. Just as those that stood by and let the German Nazis take control, you're sitting bone idle. And don't even chat to me about comparison and don't comparison. It's the only comparison everybody gets. So I'm gonna say it. Alright, you're letting a policeman murder a man for nothing. Then watching undercovers start fires, encourage looting, watching other officers burn out their own vehicles and spray paint walls. You're watching policemen shoot the press, drive into crowds, shoot people for being on their porch, and you're watching a president encourage it. You let the same happen here in the UK, and don't chat to me about scale when we're the size of like a single state in America. Having lower numbers doesn't change the experience of victims. Alright, you need to stop treating every other human that you don't know as a stat, because you're not hard enough to fight them off if it suddenly turns on you. Everyone watched the Nazis take people out one by one. Grateful it was them and not us, until the last us left realised there was no one else to fight for them. That's why it's so funny that you have British politicians saying we should be more respectful, and US politicians blaming anti-fascists for uprisings against fascism. The white left and minorities are being singled out as the enemy of the state for fighting to protect the right of black men to not be shot and killed for no reason. Yeah? Who do you think would be fighting the Nazis? Who do you think fought the Nazis? Who do you think would be marching if it were you or one of your family that was killed? Never to feel, hear, smile, love, laugh again. Who? Tell me who you think would be there. Yeah? Do you remember back in the war, yeah? When black people were still treated worse than they are now. Worse than you could imagine, yeah? And did they fight in the war? Yeah. What about these countries from our colonies where we starved their people, murdered their people, raped and pillaged? Did they fight in the war? Did they come and join in against the Nazis? Yeah. Spanish Civil War. Who went over and fought that? Yeah. Anti-fascists from all over the world took it upon themselves to travel to Spain to fight fascism. And we're pissing. Those little steps of progress that we made in amongst all the other crap going on, those little progress steps that we could have built on and turn and overtake the actual pyramid of power. Nobody's seizing these things. In fact, you're pissing on it. You're throwing it. You're trying to bury it. You're trying to brush it under the rug. Like, that's actually what you want. It's mad. Because I'm telling you, yeah. If the Nazis were here, yeah, it was all back to that, yeah. Well, you can see it right now. Who are the only people that are backing black people? Antifa and other minorities, whether that be black, Jew, Vietnamese or lesbian, standing there fighting in your memory. That's what they're doing. The people you laugh at because they don't wear designer like you. You're mad. There's no honour amongst you, innit? No respect, because none of you are men. None of you are from fighting stock like that anymore. You're all cowards who'd rather do a tweet and then just la 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 la. Is it all over yet? Is it all over yet? Like, oh mate, you lot are incredible. You're incredible. And now, oh mate, like, fuck the police, yeah. Fuck the elites. Fuck the racists. And if you second that motion, you better be prepared to back it up with your fists. Look, being nice didn't work then. It doesn't work now. NWA, fuck the police, must have been out for like 35 to 40 years now. Screaming that, but doing nothing, doesn't work. What I'm saying is, it's time to change, to make the change. This is where people like me have to take the lead, innit? This is where we're supposed to drop our baggage off and carry the black communities for them. We owe them that much. We owe them more than any riot could give, times a trillion. What I'm saying is that it's on the British public, whether white, black, brown, olive or none of the above. It's on us to seize the moment and not let our family and neighbours down. Fuck the police, innit? Fuck them. The establishment would kill you in a blink of an eye and then lie to your family about what happened to protect their own going to jail for a couple years. They do that to white people and they do worse to everyone else. There is no one else to do it. We're the barrier between justice or no justice, and it should be no peace until justice. It's time people started getting militant out here, innit? Fuck catching a case. Fuck getting nicked. What's that compared to the struggle? What is that compared to your little individual sorrow for a few years? Is nothing compared to the bodies. The bodies, bruv. You could probably climb fucking Everest on the bodies that have dropped in this struggle. You need to get over yourself. Like, if that's what stops you from doing what you know is right deep down, then you need to get over yourself. You are not more important than the human cause. You are not the secret baby of Jesus, alright? We shouldn't throw humanity under the bus to avoid being inconvenient to you. That's ludicrous, bro. What's your reason? Why do you think violence doesn't achieve anything? Substantiate that claim, otherwise be known as a coward from here on out. Again, there's no middle ground in oppression. You can't just sit there and mediate when it comes to injustice. Yeah? If you watch on and do nothing but discourage others from doing what's necessary, you've chosen a side. There's no middle ground. There's no fence. Only you being an obstacle to justice. You are the fence. You are not sitting on one. And a lot of my white friends and family will try to come with a deflection like, rah, you're not really on it like that anyway. I bet you wouldn't actually do anything. No. You know that you wouldn't, because you're a coward. Yeah, but your ego convinces you you're above everyone when it comes to anything. So you've convinced yourself that if you wouldn't, no one else would. And now you have to project it. Otherwise, you'd risk having to face up to your own fears and insecurity. It's basic bitch shit. Just stop being scared of violence. It got us here. If that's all that stands in the way of getting somewhere and improving the world for everybody, how can you sit there and decide that because you're not down, nobody else should be? You're a weakling. And the irony is you probably think you're a big man and that, innit? But you're only comfortable fighting little chavies in the pub who don't really want it after you've had 10 pints. Because you're a pussy. You're just a bully at the same time. Bootlickers who love playing alpha when it comes to punching down but haven't got the balls to punch up. I'm getting off track here, but the moral of the story is man up and be violent to respect those that died. And because violence is all those above listen to. Again, if you disagree, I'd love to hear it. I know it ain't coming, but I'd love to hear it because it's really just your fear. Accept it and get over it. We're all scared. Do you not think black people in the US are scared right now? And likewise on these shores. Do you not think everybody is scared of authority like that? That's why we need to do it together. Because we could really achieve things we've never achieved as the West, innit? We could be part of the next chapter in history. We could be part of the end of this one. It could be you in the history books on the right side for once. You shouldn't need more persuading than that. A man's honour should be everything. And you cannot witness oppression, do nothing, and have honour. It doesn't work like that in reality. Only in our head does it work like that. And I'm sorry, yeah. This is all a bit white knight and pasty saviour and all that. And I apologise if that offends anyone. But it's been hard to get thoughts down on paper recently. With everything in real life going at such a pace. So this is all from the soul in it and heart, not the brain. I haven't had time to formulate anything properly or to properly mull anything over. Obviously, I plan to, but I've been trying to organise, I've been trying to inspire and mobilise. And I'm going to be honest, you lot, outside of the proper left and the black community and other ethnic minority communities, basically, you white boys that ain't on the left, you ain't fucking on it, man. You washed up little poshos with no semblance of collective responsibility in your entire body. And it's worrying me that you're going to cost us justice and change, innit? So I just had to write something quick time from the heart to let comrades know where I stand on people who don't do nothing about nothing until it's them, then it's all dramas. Over the next week or two, maybe 3, I'm going to get into some information instead of my militant opinion and get back to encouraging education. I just had to get this off my chest before I can make anything else I say on it compact, digestible and with an actual point, yeah. I've got to get it to you nice and harsh and raw because it's the only way you're going to listen, apparently. Because you might think it's fake coming from me, yeah, and I get it. But those that know me know I take this shit to heart and I take it dead serious, yeah. And I promise I will add something of value to the debate. And I hope that I can inspire some of you that wouldn't normally participate in humanity outside of spoons to drop the fear, drop the psychosis, and realise that if your neighbour suffers because they don't look the same as you, that it's a blight on you. not some uncontrollable, unchangeable system. Systems were built to adapt, and those that don't break up into tiny pieces, perfect for rebuilding. If the system isn't working for our black family, if the system was built not to work for our black family, built to punish it, in fact, then there isn't a debate to be had over whether we're supposed to burn it to the ground. It's our human fucking duty. Like, bruv, I'm out before I get angry. I'll see you when I've got something more substantial or positive to say or bring. Stay safe. Stay on the streets. Don't let this just be a day out last Sunday. Let this be the start of the next chapter in it. Everybody pays for change. Everybody pays for change. But it's our kids who get to cash it all in. It's crazy. It's all scary. Bro, it's scary just being on your own at a bloody protest, innit? Especially when it's not about you. But that's not enough. That's not a reason. But if that stopped our ancestors from going out and making a change simply by standing on your feet to be counted, nobody would be living in comfort outside of royalty. Trust me. Hold tight. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Or that way. I'm not sure. Wait, what you fucking cares?